to live the way we please. As long as we have done our best, then no one can do more. And life and love and happiness are well worth fighting for.
Good afternoon from the Shires. It's your tour guide speaking. Just heading down to the railway station to meet up with my companion for the day, a chap named Spider. A little bit of a shady character, to be honest. Nobody knows too much about him. Nobody knows his real age. Nobody knows his real name. Nobody really knows what he does. But he is a bit of a bon vivant, and hopefully we can expect some pithy comments from him as we go around the prescribed route. So today's route, in fact, will be round down into Clerkenwell, dipping into Farringdon, then round to Finsbury and back towards King's Cross. About 5 or 6 pubs, I should think, and we'll endeavour to bring you some of the history and some of the atmosphere, I hope, as we go through. It looks like it might be quite a lively night just before Christmas, so bear with us, join us in the adventure, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio for now. Bye bye. Okay, so we're just approaching now our first stop on the Finsbury and Clerkenwell tour, having already negotiated the highs and lows of London traffic.
It's been a bit of a sort of trains, planes and automobiles day, because we had delays with the trains. We had to take a gamble on the slow train. Well, we didn't. We went to the fast train, but we made 10 minutes on the deal. It was quite a good deal. We get into town, into London, and what do we see? Is a taxi being pushed by a couple of fellows. We give a hand, and then all of a sudden it bled oil all over the road.
Lo and behold, it shat its gearbox. Anyway, here we are. We're just about to... the lights are on for the first time in visiting the Betsey Trotwood. So let's see how that goes. And we'll continue reporting our adventure and our search for our moon underwater.
No ladies yet.
No ladies yet, said Spider. Always the optimist. All right, so we're now inside the Betsey Trotwood, formerly the Butcher's Arms, also known for having the smallest live venue in London of 25 people, apparently. Very convivial inside, very pleasant wood interior. What can I say? A youngish crowd, all looking like they're engaging in their Christmas parties.
And no fucking beer. We've just got the last 2 halves out of a Spitfire, which isn't the greatest beer in the world anyway. And it's looking a bit cloudy, but at least it's ale. Back to the manager.
Yes, as my companion informs you all, a sad dearth of cask ale in the pub tonight. But everybody else seems quite satisfied with their fizzy pop and their Guinness, so long may it continue. Anyway, yeah, very nice, very pleasant inside. Christmas decorations, you name it, all good. Speak to you later. So, Clerkenwell and a fork in the road. So which way do you think it is, mate?
Well, I tend to go to the right.
The right?
Yeah.
I think it's the left. Another point of contention. We've just come past the Crown, which is a lovely looking pub and full, as every pub in London is on this time of year. Well, this time of day and this time of night and this time of year.
I'm told there was a little bit of a fracas there.
There was a little bit of a fracas during our last visit, actually, yeah. And Big Dave took on a load of Scotsmen in kilts during a wedding party.
I was wondering if they had more.
But that was 10 years ago, to be fair.
Had he more than one over the 8?
He had one more than one over the 8. In fact, I think we were on about 9 or 10 by that point.
Well.
And it was all getting a bit leery. But anyway.
Country then.
Yeah. He's always best to be avoided, the man, at that point. Right, anyway, early days for us. So let's go and find the next one. We're en route for the Holy Tavern, by the way. So that's where we're going to.
Tavern.
The Holy Tavern, yeah.
Well, we'll find out how that's got its name then.
Well, we will do. There's
All right.
quite a nice history behind that.
Okay.
Hey, so look, what's that gate there? That big stone. What's that stone archway there, do you suppose? Is that part of the London Wall?
Well, it certainly looks ancient.
Yeah.
It looks like the sort of place you could have taken a horse and cart through back in the day.
Well, look, there's a brew dog over there, but we won't go in there because that's obviously a shite place to go for a drink. So anyway, we're still en route for the Holy Tavern, but we've got a bit lost, and we're on what's the name of the street? St John's Square. How about that? We have just, funnily enough, we did just pass a pub which sold Zott beer from Bruges, and I was reminding my companion about the time I took my wife there for our 10th wedding anniversary.
Well, did you have many more anniversaries after that?
Not too many as it goes, no, but that was memorable in a number of ways. We'll come on to that in another time. Oh, hang on, we didn't stop recording then. Oh, bloody hell. Oh, well, you may... Oh, I think we've arrived, dear boy. I think we've arrived. The crash of Barstool seems to indicate that we're close to the Holy Tavern. Having gone on a bit of a detour and gone all the way to the Shakespeare and have to go back, we have now arrived. And this is interesting because this was a relatively new pub, but built in an old style. We must hush our voices now as we approach. So I'm standing outside the Holy Tavern now, and the building, the sign on the building suggests it's been around since 1720, but don't be fooled, because that's just the date it was built, and the pub actually was only been open since 1990, and changed its name to the Holy Tavern as recently as 2022. Prior to that, it was known as the Jerusalem Tavern, and having also traded as a watchmaker and a publisher, I think. Anyhow, the reasons why the Jerusalem Tavern apparently is steeped in some monastic history. It used to be on the site of the St John the Baptist monastery on the turn of the last millennium or thereabouts, and it was set up by a band called the Knights Hospitallers, who used to treat the wounded who came back from the Crusades. This raised them quite a bit of money apparently, and they were able to undertake these builds. Now, just one other part of the history is the actual street that we're sitting on is Britain Street, and this was named after a coalman made good, actually, from Northampton, whose hobby was music. And the curious aside to that is that he was so into his music that he built himself a loft concert hall. And the luminaries as such as Handel would come and play, and Samuel Pepys would come and listen. So, quite something. And he died a curious death. So you can research that one if you like. Poor bugger. Anyway, that's a bit of the history of the Holy Tavern, formerly known as the Jerusalem Tavern, formerly a watchmaker's. So there we have it. All right. Thanks again. Cheers. Bye-bye. Got a lot of hustle and bustle in the Shakespeare, the brutalist pub, part of the Barbican. Christmas parties plenty. We eventually got here after visiting the Holy Tavern, where we met a lovely man called Sam from Brighton, who was on his way to band practice and meeting his band member with a double bass. Was it a double bass? No, it was a cello. I do beg your pardon. Anyhow, very rowdy in here, but all in good spirits. Good crowd, as I say.
The tables are very reserved. All the tables.
Oh yes, all the tables are reserved. So we managed to squeeze on the end for a table for some accommodating ladies. Well, accommodating as far as space is concerned, anyway. And we're enjoying a nice pint of Santa Claus from the Renegade Brewery, which isn't half bad, to be fair, and more competitively priced than the £14 that was for 2 pints at the Holy Tavern. Anyway, a bit too noisy here, so we'll call off for the moment and speak to you again when we get to the Artillery Arms. Okay, so next stop, Artillery Arms. This is the pub famous for being across the lane from the burial site of John Bunyan, who's actually an old Bedford name, so familiar to us Bedfordians.
What do you mean, John Bunyan's buried here?
Across the road.
Not buried in Bedford?
No.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I'm stunned.
There you go.
Well, as I've had Cordian, we really should go
Well,
over
and this, interestingly enough, this is also the site where they used to have rat baiting competitions, because the pub was built just after the era when cockfighting and badger baiting.
Well, hold on though. And the name is Artillery Arms.
Yes.
Presumably they built artillery around here.
Well, that be that as it may, one of the other famous aspects of the pub was the fact that after the laws against cockfighting and badger baiting and all that sort of gubbins, they decided to do rat baiting, and they would herd up the rats from the fields around here and throw them into a pit along with some dogs, and they would bet on the dog that had the most rats.
All right, fair enough.
So they didn't ever come out of it ever so well, the rats, to be fair.
They come second.
Most of the time, yeah, as we said. But anyway, as you can tell...
I would say this about this pub, though. It's the Fuller's pub. I've got myself a lovely pint of ESB.
Yeah.
And I see on the window they're advertising Old Winter Ale. 4.9%. Oh, that sounds like just got to have some of that, surely.
Yeah, okay, Grandad. No, fair enough. It is a nice pub. It's nice. Unfortunately, it's a bit crowded and a bit crowded full of the sort of people I don't really like. But nonetheless, we'll come back
young
again.
People.
Well, no. People drinking lager and that kind of thing.
Nobody over 40.
And all the tables have got reserved for on them for no reason, and there's no actually people here.
And nobody over 40.
No. Well, apart from you. I don't know if it's back that way or not. Anyway, we've just come back from another insanely busy pub after the Artillery Arms and the Old Fountain, full of youngsters, which is good. Everybody drinking Guinness. Not really sure why that is. Seems to be the drink of choice these days with the under 30s. Anyhow, we're now
doing a little bit of banter, a bit of
yes, we did. We almost got invited to a party by the landlord of the Old Fountain, but he sort of careered off with 4 bottles of booze in his knapsack and no firm directions on where he was heading.
They
but
said there's going to be some women of our age.
Yeah, which we were a bit nervous about, frankly. Anyway, we're cracking on, and we're going now to the Brittania, if we can only find our way there. It's light drizzle, or probably heavy drizzle to be fair, and nonetheless we will persevere. Back soon. So we've just rounded the corner and we're on the corner of Norman Street and another street. I can't remember which one it is. Could well be Ironmonger Row, because right in front of us are the famous Ironmonger Row Turkish baths and bath. Built probably about 100 years ago, but I'm going to have to check it out. Probably no more than that, actually, probably 150 years ago. But these are world famous, and we are in the presence of greatness. But we're going to persevere because we're on the way to the
massages there.
They do Turkish massages if you fancy one.
Is it a bloke or a bird?
I'm not sure if it's a bloke or a bird, to be honest. But anyway, so that's where we are, and they're still up. They were threatened with closure, if I remember rightly, a little while back, but they have survived, and they look to be flourishing. All looks quite modern as we go past the entrance. Well, spiders going in. Hang on, guys. So we made it to the Brittania, which is quite an interesting and unique pub. A lot of wood panelling, nice island bar, like a proper pub actually, which is remarkable for around here.
At the bottom we got a seat.
Yeah, and not only that, we got the bonus of a seat. Met a few lads who worked nearby, had a good chinwag with them. I can recommend this place highly. It's, lo and behold, it's a proper pub, not full of...
It's a bit of a bloke's pub, I'll be honest with you, no women about.
Yeah, it is mainly created by gentlemen, but that's no bad thing. It's a pub where you can get a pint, have a seat, have a chat. There's more draylon than you can throw a shitty stick at. Happy days. What can I say? It's a proper pub.
London Pride.
And there's a nice pint of London Pride that was less than £6, which is still. Yeah, I know. Sad to say, isn't it? Sad to say that £6. Oh, yeah. Anyway, the £6 barrier. That's where we've got to. Anyway, TTFN. I'll update at the next boozer. Getting towards the end of the cultural tour, and currently in the Harlequin in Finsbury, well, Finsbury-ish, which is curiously situated right next to the Saddler's Wells Ballet, as it turns out.
And in truth, we just met a couple of Harlequins, if you like. Very nice fellows. I think they're kind of, well, I would say they're good with colours, put it that way. And this cigar photograph.
Well, good evening. Time for the review panel now for the pubs we went to last Thursday, in fact, the Clerkenwell and Finsbury tour. So I have with me Spider, and I'm going to just ask him a few questions about the agenda and such like. So, what did you make of the Betsey Trotwood, mate? The first one we went into.
Well, it was good it was open, because I think that previously it hasn't been, but they only had the bin ends of a pint, didn't they? We only got half each. So
I think we did cover that on the evening, though, mate. Carry on.
Did we cover that on the evening?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
All right, well, we're reviewing it, and don't forget I had several ESBs and some goals, so my memory's going to get a lot more stickier than that then. Yeah, it was okay. It was full of young people and people having heart-to-heart chats next door.
Okay, mate, but marks out of 10. I mean, let's cut to the chase.
I can only give it 5. I mean, a half pint in a pub bin end is you're supposed to have an ale, aren't you?
Okay, fair enough. Just a 5 out of 10 there. So I rate it a bit higher. I thought it was a solid 7 myself because it was lively and I enjoyed the ambience. A few little known facts that I forgot to mention out of my comprehensive dossier from last week was that the actual name of the pub is after a Dickensian character from David Copperfield, who'd been abused as a child, I think, and had an unfavourable view of men and boys, which seems to be like quite a lot of the women that have come into our lives of late, isn't it? But there we are. Other things.
They
abuse you. Okay, well there we are. We mentioned they were. It was a small music venue, but what we didn't mention was the fact that Keane and the Magic Numbers had played there. So that was something we missed out from last week.
But not that night.
But no, plainly not that night. Anyway, moving on. So the Holy Tavern. One of the things I forgot to mention, which was fairly obvious really when you think about it, I did mention it was based around the monastery of St John the Baptist. But what I forgot to mention was that was the basis of all the St John's ambulance brigades. So every time you see a St John's ambulance, it all comes from that base around about the Clerkenwell area where the monastery was. So that's a little takeaway for you.
Was this, by the way, the most expensive beer I've ever bought?
Well, it could be, and that brings me on to another thing. Because whilst it was quite quaint, it was artificially quaint, and that didn't really gel with me. It was very compact, a little bit claustrophobic, and the quaintness, I knew was artificial, and that affected my judgment.
I think what affected my judgment was paying £14.30. For 2 pints, and that upset me so much that I could feel the acid in my stomach regurgitating in my throat. I think that probably affected the taste of the beer. So that's going to get only 5. That's only get 5 out of 10. For me.
Another 5. Yeah. Well, I'm going to give it a 6, basically because I liked it, but for the wrong reasons. I think that's probably where we can go to there. All right, moving on. We skipped one. We were at the Shakespeare next, weren't we? Well, the Shakespeare was nice. I actually enjoyed that as a pub, even though it was from 1964, which was a tremendous year in many ways. So relatively recent, but the beer was good and the setting was all right. What did you make of the Shakespeare, mate?
I like any pub called Shakespeare. I just think it sort of reaches back to the past, and I guess a fat 6 out of 10 for me.
Oh, well, you are a thespian at heart, aren't you? No, for me, I'm going to go for a 7. Actually, I would go back there. Beer was good. Price was good. Accessibility was good, and a nice view of the Barbican Centre. Right, moving on. Let me see now. Oh, the Artillery Arms.
We might have to refresh my memory.
The Artillery Arms, that was the one with the opposite Bunyan's burial place.
Oh, yeah. So I would have thought Bunyan would have been buried in Bedford, really.
Well, I know you mentioned that on the night, in no small way.
Are you suggesting I repeat myself?
Well, it's getting that way a little, isn't it? Anyway, one of the other guys that was also in the same burial ground as Bunyan was William Blake. And the curious thing about Blakey, not the other Blakey, rejected all forms of organised religion and toyed with the idea of bringing a second wife into his house. Now that's an interesting perspective, isn't it? Because let's face it, most of us can't really deal with one. So having two wives in the same house, what do you make of that?
Well, you would definitely be bankrupt. You'd be joining Betsey Trotwood in the what's the word? Penury.
Penury. Well, I feel impecunious as we speak. But anyway, and another of the fellows that was also there, Daniel Defoe, by the way. We forgot to mention that. Pilloried and imprisoned for his Presbyterian leanings, apparently, and died in poverty, with the cause of death given as lethargy. Now that's something to aspire to, isn't it? You died of being lazy.
Was he the chap that wrote Robinson Crusoe?
He did write. Yes, he did write Robinson Crusoe. Yes, indeed. In fact, it was a long time ago as well, because he was actually born in 1660. Right. Anyway, moving on from the Artillery, we go to the Old Fountain. Not really much to say about the Old Fountain, other than the fact that it is round the corner from Old Street, and on Old Street there was a place called the Jack and Newbury Tavern. And on the wall of the Jack and Newbury Tavern is a blue plaque been awarded by the English Hedonist Society, which celebrates the resident resident madam as Pris Fotheringham, and rated at the time as the second best whore in London in the 19th century. So, given that you were around in the 19th century, Spider, who was the first best whore in London at the time? Any ideas?
Well, it's always Maggie down Main Street, as far as I know. But I'm just wondering how come we didn't find about these things a bit earlier.
Well, it was all written in my dossier, but as I say, I forgot to refer to it because we were a little bit preoccupied. Anyway, moving on, the Brittania. Oh, sorry, how did you rate the Old Fountain?
Yeah, that was okay. I'll give it a 7.
And the Artillery?
That's another 7.
Okay, so moving on to the Brittania. Now, frankly, the Brittania was my favourite, I think, out of the lot. It was the most. I think I was effused quite a lot on the evening, and I don't go back on that. Not much to say about the history, other than the fact that it's in the parish of St Luke's. And St Luke's is famous for its hospital for the lunatics, which was the second lunatic hospital in London, built after the St Mary of Bethlehem, otherwise known as Bedlam. So if you've ever heard of the phrase, it's Bedlam in there, that's after the St Mary of Bethlehem lunatic asylum, which was founded in 1246, believe it or not.
I have heard of Bedlam being Bethlehem, but we weren't actually there, was we?
But no. But we were in the vicinity, so we were in the.
I think by that time I was ready for a little bit of Bedlam.
Oh dear. Now, interestingly enough, the chap that designed the St Luke's Hospital for the medically or for lunatics. Hang on, there's got a bit more banging going on in the background. Chap called George Dance the Younger, from a very famous family of architects, who also designed the building that was destined to become the Bank of England, or part of the Bank of England, the St Luke's Printing Works.
Is it right that the Dance family actually invented moving to music?
I really don't know about that. I think you might have just made that one up. But what they did do was design the Finsbury Circus. And if you've ever been there, that is quite a magnificent array of buildings, or crescent of buildings. Okay, so moving on, finally. So what do we think to the Brittania myself? I'm going to give it a 9. What do you reckon?
My memory's now getting very, very hazy. I'm going to go in with a sturdy 7.
Oh my God, sevens all round. All right then, finally, the Harlequin. Not much history other than the fact that Brian Reader, the famous Hatton Garden robber, once shacked up with the landlady upstairs, but I think we mentioned that in brief. It's next to the Sadler's Wells Ballet, but it was in celebration, they reckon or the name is in celebration of Joseph Grimaldi. I don't know if you ever heard of Joe. Was the star performer at the Sadler's Wells in the 19th century, but sadly for Joe, he never actually got to go in the pub because he died before it opened. So there we go. Anything to add?
Yeah, it was certainly a kind of a thespian type pub in a thespian area with a lot of history, and I liked it, and I liked the clientele who we got very friendly with. So
when you say very friendly, yeah, okay, I know what you mean. They were good chaps. Anyway. Right, and finally, what we should add is that we didn't stop just at the Harlequin. We broke our journey back to the train station by nipping in the Charles I, didn't we?
That's where we're not friendly with the locals, is it?
Well, we did get friendly with we did. Yeah, we struck up a friendship with some charming girls, and what can I say? It was a perfect end to the evening, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I thought the pub was called the Resurgence because of the way I came together at the end.
Well, it is true to say that from a stumbling mess down Pentonville Road, you pulled yourself back to one, and all of a sudden there was a man reborn once we're in the presence of female company. But anyway, right, well, that's it then. So your best of the evening. Well, quickly, before we have to wrap this up.
The last one. I enjoyed the last one the most.
The Charles I.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't on the specified route. Yeah, all right, fair enough. For me, the Brittania. But obviously the Charles I did have... but it's kind of like our backstop pub, isn't it? That's where we always end up anyway, so I don't really think that really counts. But nonetheless, OK, good. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us for the wrap-up. I'm sorry about the interference from the builders. But that's what you get when you're paying £2.80 for a pint of Guinness. I have to put it through. All right, take care.